Guys, welcome to the Merry Boozers channel. Tonight is a very special episode. Here on the F-18s, we've got some special guests coming into the show a little later. How's everybody's weekend going? Everybody funneling in right now? I'm going to get the iPad fired up like always so I can double check the stream along with Lori. I got a chance to fly a couple things today. It was a really good time. Anyway, it was just a ball of a day, and I've been really just super excited for what we have going on tonight. So I did get a chance to paint mine this week. I got it done for you guys live on the show. I see there's about 21 of you guys already funneled in tonight. Awesome, awesome. Thank y'all for coming. So without further ado, it looks like we've actually got guys funneled in pretty quick. Let's go on and bring in our special guest tonight. Lori?
Here we go.
Welcome Pilot Ryan and Steve Hodges, the RC Jet Dude, to the show, guys. Give them a big a burst of emojis in the comments section saying hi and welcome to everybody. It's been really cool kind of getting this set up for you guys tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to let both of them talk to y'all for a minute.
What's going on, everybody? I told you we'd be here tonight. Glad to see you filling in.
Glad to be here, Wes. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, guys. It's been really a neat experience getting to be able to show you all three guys here together. You know, we've each got a different kind of version of the F-18. I've got mine pimped out. Steve's got the Blue Angels, and Ryan has the gray, and Ryan has the FMS with him tonight because we wanted to show you another airplane that's on the market that might be the right choice for some guys that don't have the big packs or the budget for the Freewing. So it's cool to kind of show you guys your options sometimes, you know? So I guess I'll start out by talking about mine for a second here. So I did mine with the Devil's paint job. I've been really impressed with the quality and things on this airplane. Haven't had a chance to fly my exact airplane, but I did get to fly one at Joe Knoll. Ryan got to fly his this week. Ryan, what'd you think about yours?
I thought it was fantastic. I flew it three times yesterday, and I had reached out to actually Steve Hodges right here to kind of see what he thought about the book call outs. And then I also put a feeler out on Facebook, and my buddy Fernando, Alpha 10, he reached out to me with some of his findings as well. And I kind of mixed the two together and went with what I thought was a little bit of a tweak out of the gate off of the book. And then those three flights, I continued to kind of fine tune it. And I think on the third flight, I got it the way I like it. And of course, we filmed it, and be staying tuned for that, and I'll fill you guys in on that. I really basically, first of all, I've really enjoyed it a lot. And it, like a lot of stuff, comes out of the book pretty responsive. The ailerons I toned down a little bit, and I also toned down the pitch as well as adding a little bit of elevator with the flaps, which wasn't called out for in the book.
Cool. It sounds like we had a little bit of an echo going on, but the guys have got it figured out now. Behind the scenes, Miss Lori working hard.
Awesome.
So Steve, I guess tell us about your airplane. I know you've got to fly yours also. You've got the Blue Angel sitting there.
Yeah, I made Neffy. It flew very well. Although I had some mixes on it, tried to have full span flaps and ailerons. That the way I had it set up, I like the feel of it. So I disabled those after landing without flaps. And it flew fine with the stock settings, although I do have a tamed down elevator and ailerons as well, just like Ryan. My CG is at 88 millimeters.
Wow.
So it's the book recommended measurement. And I'm running a 6000 Admiral Pro in it. and it flew and handled very well. I really enjoyed it. Since I got back, I've painted the struts white and the inside of the gear doors, and I'm going to get ready to do some work on the inside of the cockpit. But other than that, I'm just going to fly it like it is. And the thing looks fantastic in the air, just especially on a high-speed pass. I think, Ryan, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh my goodness! I couldn't stand. I mean, I knew I wanted it anyway, just because it's the quality we get out of Freewing and Flightline. It's a known fact at this point, so it's. I mean, I knew it was going to be awesome, and since I've been flying the 70mm FMS one, I kind of had a little idea of what the character would be like. So seeing those live and in person at Neffy just put me over the edge. And before we get too far into it, I want to give Steve Hodges a huge pat on the back, because guys, I want you to know the audacity it takes to maiden these things on cowboy settings. Like, Steve, you had Tailorons and a crazy custom setup out the gate, and you maidened it there at Neffy, and I saw you kind of react to what it did on takeoff, and you saved it really awesome, and then you were like held to the no, and that's when you went to the back to the stock settings until you could get it home and really dial it in. Is that right?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to do the full span flaps, but I didn't feel like my settings were exactly. There was some glitchiness with the transitions from one flap setting to another that had me kind of somewhat concerned. Although it didn't seem like much, and I thought, I'm going to go ahead and fly it and see what it does. So that's what I did. But that first transition from dumping flaps after takeoff, I had good altitude and it wasn't too much of a concern, but I was just going, there's something not right about this, and it kind of led me down that path of making me realize that my thoughts were accurate and I needed something better. And so I thought I would just revisit it later.
Did you do any flap to elevator mix at all?
Yes, I did have some. But I may not have had enough. And I tried adding trim, but at the same time, it was just I just trimmed it in normal flight mode, and I dumped the flaps, and I left it that way. So anyway.
Well, sorry.
Go ahead, Wesley.
It's all good, man.
No,
it's all good. When I flew the one at Joe Nall, they definitely had the stock setup where it was just the flaps and not the full length flaps. And I did notice that they had quite a bit of up trimmed into it, and it kind of felt like it ballooned to me the way they had it. And I know they had theirs kind of set up to the book. Now, I can't speak for setting mine up just yet, but I know that I would probably rather start out safe and go with the book and have a little bit of a climb in it than it take off and start diving either when a guy gets set up on his first flight. So I would definitely follow the book as far as your up rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll say this. The book recommends the 7mm up trim at neutral for elevator, and I'd say that's spot on. But it didn't call out for a flap to elevator mix, and I'm not doing anything but the regular flaps.
Really?
They're huge. Yeah, I'm not doing full span on that thing because the ones that are inboard there by the fuselage are humongous. Yep. So I'm not, and it's very responsive, that plane already. So I just am straight up now. Tell me with those. And Fernando Alpha 10, he recommended 10% up elevator. And I see that's what David Christie's using. I landed on 5%, and I still get a little bit of a nose down with the flaps in, but that's okay by me because I want to be the one holding the nose up, not the plane. And I also went forward on CG as well. I'm flying the Admiral 5000. About an inch back from that foam bulkhead puts me around somewhere between 80 and 83 on the CG. Again, that's how I default to nose heavy when I'm figuring a plane out. So far, I mean, not the professional, but I got 3 flights in on it, And I really liked it, but I do want to experiment a little bit more. And I have a feeling when I get a paint scheme on it, it'll give me another excuse to take it out in front of the camera again.
Cool, cool. Steve, where do you have your battery placed on yours when you've flown it?
Good question. The 6000 is lined up right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's midway in the battery bay. It's about 1/4 of an inch back from the front edge of the wooden tray.
Okay.
Is where that's, just as a point of reference. I always measure my CG. I do not go by a battery placement. If the book says a certain value, as much as possible, I try to make sure that that's what I attain, at least to start with.
Right.
But I do look to see what people are saying about the CG. Like if it's off, like the F-35 manual said a certain value, and I think it really intended it to be further back. So there was a hiccup with that. So asking questions, seeing what feedback there was on the CG. I ended up waiting. I got better confirmation of where it should be. Better confirmation of where it should be in place. But I always measure. And I don't go off of where people are placing batteries and things like that, because there's so many variables. To me, it's just if the CG is the CG, it can be different batteries. Forward or back placement in that battery bay. And I've got to go with what the manual says.
Now, Lori says we have a question from the audience.
It's for Ryan. It says, do you have enough elevator when you're nose heavy?
Okay, so Ryan, the question was for if you have enough elevator whenever you've got the CG that far forward.
Yes, I see that from Victor. Thanks for seeing that. Yes, I do. I set up my elevator. It's a full flying stab, and I do benefit from having a little experience on the FMS one lately. So as far as CG goes, kind of scaled to the plane, I was in the same spot, so to say, as I am on the FMS one. And to answer the question, I fly the low rate elevator 65%. And I thought that was just fine, and I made that my high on my first flight, and then I was like, well, let's give myself just a little bit more pitch just in case I need it. So I'm at 75% on my high rate now for elevator and 65% on low, which is called out by the book. So I've tweaked it just a little bit, but I don't have as much as they ask for, because you have to do what's right for you. Like I've mentioned it to Steve the other day too. It's like full flying stabs, for me, it's really easy for me to screw it up and scrub off speed, and then I'm in trouble. And because of the FMS 70mm does not have a flying stab, it's been pretty rock solid. The elevator's kind of small in a way, so it makes you manage your speed well, and that speed's your friend. I mean, not too much, but so anyway, yes, Victor, I have enough elevator throw to get it done. Again, I'm at the book neutral, kind of a 7mm up neutral elevator, and then I mixed a little, like 5% of up in with my flaps, and I'm about 80, 83, somewhere in that range on the CG, and I liked it. I actually am going to try it a little bit more nose heavy, and if I feel like I don't have enough pitch, two things. I'll either add more throttle, into my landing scenario, and or increase the pitch.
Right. And I talked to James about the up elevator also that was called out in the book, because I know, like I said, I had flown the Blue Angels one he had at Joe Knoll, and it flew great, and so I was kind of going off of him on that one. And the issues he had with his on his flight, I know everybody has seen that video now, it was the ordnance he had added on it, and he said the CG had gotten really far back, and I don't even know if maybe his ordnance might have been a little crooked on there, and they were acting as a rudder. I
the
think
gray one in Muncie.
Right. I think that there was an issue
Talking about
caused.
the gray.
Yeah.
The gray one.
Yeah, the one that crashed in Muncie. I think that was all caused by the ordnance putting on it. So I don't think
I
it was
was
actually
right
the airplane.
there.
Yeah.
I was standing right next to him, and he gave it.
He gave it a good fight.
Really
yeah, that's what I was saying.
I thought he might save it, and I was available if he
Right.
wanted me, but I wasn't going to get in his way. But I'm not sure anybody could have saved that one. It definitely was tail heavy, and it was also, like you say, Wes, it appeared to have a crazy...
Like it was turning to the side.
Out of yaw. Crazy yaw trim in it. Something adverse going on there.
And I don't
sure.
know if maybe one of the ordnance on there was tilted to one side, causing to act like a rudder or something. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened to him on that, but I think it was just a mixture of things all culminated to cause what happened there. Because I've seen several guys fly them since then. I've flown it, and it does not fly like that when I've seen it.
No, that was something
Right.
bad going on
So
there.
Lori says we had another question. I was going to ask her real quick what it was.
They want to know if your plane
That
is
was
a stock scheme as well.
What's that, Lori?
If your plane is a stock scheme.
So the question was if mine was a stock scheme. So no, my airplane is not the factory scheme. Ryan actually has how the gray one comes out of the box sitting behind him. It comes with no decals right now. And then I ordered these from Cali Graphics. Cali Graphics, got the sticker up there in the corner. And I put this scheme on here from her. So the cool thing with the gray one right now, guys, is if you don't want the Blue Angels, you get the base gray, and you get to pick your own scheme right now is kind of the goal they're going with. And they rushed the gray version out for everybody because there was such an outcrying for it. I mean, the same thing when it came out, I said, I'd love to see it in gray. And then, I mean, it was like 2 weeks later, they were like, we're making a gray one now, so it was awesome.
Yeah, I saw the pole. There was like a screenshot of the pole or something on, I think, one of James' videos, and the the community really wanted to see both released at the same time.
Mm-hmm. You know, and back to the ordnance thing, guys. If you get a new airplane, I personally would always recommend you do your maiden flight without ordnance. Get used to the airplane and fly it before putting your ordnance underneath it, because all it does is add drag and decrease the performance of the airplane. So that's just a rule of thumb on me. I know it's not for everybody, but I would always recommend no ordnance on your airplane for your first flight.
You know, hindsight being 2022, like James said it right afterwards, and those weren't just regular ordnance; those are like 3D
Custom made
printed
stuff,
ordnance.
yeah.
So like heavier, you know.
Yeah.
And you just don't have as much time with jets to recover as you do bigger, you know, prop planes
Right.
and things. You know, more wing area prop planes. So, man, yeah, I thought he was gonna maybe save it, dude. I really
Right.
did.
So
It was flipping all over the place.
Right.
It was awful to
So-
watch. But what a good sport!
right. So Steve, I gotta ask, because I've seen your sons fly at several events. Have your kids flown the F-18 yet?
No, they have not flown the F-18. Nathan is still learning.
Right.
I do have a Freewing Rebel that I'm trying to transition him off of a buddy box on. But he's flying very well, what he is flying. And then Enoch is a little more advanced. He's doing great with the jets. He was flying a little 64 millimeter A10 up at Neffy that he maidened up there and did really good with it.
Yeah.
So, you know, he could handle, he could probably handle something like an Avanti or an L-39 without any issues. So, you know, those are the things that I'm looking at, like next in line for him. He is coming up on 1 year of flying on the 21st of July, so that's something I'm weighing. Yeah, Nathan is still learning a little bit, not quite there, but getting close.
Yeah. You guys that have ever been to an event that Steve's been at with his kids just blow me away the way they're flying. You know, they're both real young guys, but I mean, they're very well behaved young men, and they fly really well for their age. I mean, when I was their age, I did not have the attention to do it. My dad would tell you if he was sitting here beside me. So, I mean, it's just blown me away. And they look like they really are having a good time in the hobby. And I love seeing a father and son team out at the field. I mean, that's just awesome to me. So, I love it.
It's important.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He was doing great with that A10 and everything they were flying. And I think the landing gear might have broke out of that A10 one time. And I don't even think it was a bad landing, was it, Steve? But he had it fixed and back up in like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did have a bit of a high angle, descent that he didn't flare out in time, and it took out one of the gear. We fixed it, and he flew it again, but then he got into the tall grass that's in between the two runways when they crisscross. And did end up damaging one gear, but we got that fixed already. He's ready to go fly it again up at George's for the 4th of July. So we'll see what happens.
Nice.
I don't remember what the airplane was that you had at EDF Jet Fest down in Florida, but it was a little red and white airplane. He was flying that thing. Every 10 minutes I'd look over, he was putting another pack in. I mean, is something charged? I'm ready to
Rebel?
fly. I think it was the Rebel, yeah.
That's that Rebel, yeah. He kept winning the longest flight trophy with that. Amazing.
Oh, it was a good time. It was a great time. So I wanted to get into something real quick with Ryan. So he's got the FMS sitting back there also. So some guys can't afford the 400 and I forget exactly what it is, 475 for this airplane.
Yes, that's
right,
close.
and it might not be the right option for every guy out there. Don't get me wrong, it's an awesome, amazing airplane. If you've got the money and you've got the batteries that fit this one, this is amazing. But the other thing I'd like to say is the FMS is still a great choice. I don't know if, Ryan, you can kind of get that one and put it beside you or something, but I mean, that airplane is phenomenal also, guys. And my thing is, if we see a good airplane between all of us, we want to tell you about it. This plane is phenomenal. If you got the money,
and
choices is
it's
always
nice
a great thing to do too, guys, you know?
I gotta tell you, if you haven't seen it yet, I think it was it today about lunchtime, yeah. I released the FMS F-18 flight video from Neffy, me and Captain Mike filmed, and you can see that baby in action if you'd like. But yeah, let me pull it over here. But it's
I
nice.
just kind of want to show the guys you've got it right there. I mean, choices are a wonderful thing, guys, and competition drives us to get better and better every time, you know? That's how the free market works.
Can't hear a thing right
it's
now.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Anyway, so Steve, just out of curiosity, how did the fit and finish of your Blue Angels paint job come out of the box? I know that is a beautiful paint job, and I was just curious what you actually thought about it when you saw it in person.
It looks fabulous. There was a little bit of yellow overspray some places. I just touched it up with some blue. I think it's a cobalt blue. Tamiya paint, pretty closely matched. I'm not concerned about that.
So you actually did. So you did some modeling.
I did a bit.
You didn't return it. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
No, I'm not worried about stuff like that. Shoot.
Right.
I slapped some of the wheel covers on it, some of the 3D printed wheel covers, and the only mods I've done to it so far have been painting the struts, like I said, in the inside of the gear doors. And I'm not going to do a whole lot to this plane. I'm going to save the mods for my gray one. And like I said, I'm going to cardstock the cockpit to keep it from gatoring at all, and maybe print a 3D seat for it or something like that. But I'm not going to do a whole lot.
You know,
I just want to.
You know what's kind of cool that I've noticed on mine when I actually looked in the canopy is they've already done the top of the canopy dashboard is plastic, and then back here in the back is already cladded in plastic. The only stuff that's not is right there where the pilot sits. So I just thought that was cool. I don't know if it's the same on the Blue Angels or not, but on the gray model, it's actually got a plastic dash and it's got a plastic surround around the back, which is kind of cool.
It's the same.
So that'll help tremendously with the gatoring already too.
Yeah. Now the dash on mine in the sun did melt. The lip of it melted. a little bit, and I took a heat gun to it and straightened it back out and trimmed it up a little bit, and I'm going to reinforce it with something underneath to try to keep that from happening again. But yeah, there's not much to have to cardstock. It's a very clean canopy or cockpit area, so you know, should be easy to do.
Right.
Can I, teacher, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Can I see I'm watching comments, and I'm really glad to be on your show, Wesley. But this guy, I want to answer his question because it's a good one for everyone to hear.
Hey, that's great. Lori's trying as much as she can to keep up with the comments, but if you see something tonight, definitely reach out to me.
I've done a live stream a time or two, so I can help some. So Ed Malabag asks this question. Ryan, I'm about to maiden my FMS F-18, and I'm using a regular receiver, no gyro, but I put 90% expo. What do you think? I'm scared. Laugh out loud. Here's my answer since he asked me, and then let's all talk about it, can we?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm scared for him because I think 90% expo sounds crazy. Right. It's like wanting to put gloves on that you can feel everything with, but you grab mittens instead.
Right.
Is that
right?
Did you get
I would never recommend 90% expo. I think the max I ever run.
Absolutely.
I think the max I ever run for expo is maybe 20%. Steve, what do you think about this situation right now?
I'm usually 20, 25, 30%, depending on the elevator and the plane, and I usually run a little higher on rudder, just to try to tame down the nose wheel more than anything, because I try to save as many channels as I can for my mods.
Awesome.
I don't want to break that out.
90%. I mean, you're moving the stick that far before you're feeling anything, you know.
That's good value.
It's gonna be a mushy nightmare. Yeah. And I'm not picking on you.
We're trying to help you here, Ed.
For sure. I would tame the throws down if you think they look too crazy, but I go 30% on stuff if I'm nervous about it. Like big time nervous. Or if it's like that FMS 200 mile an hour foamy or whatever I got in box last night. Like, yeah, I'd probably go 30% on that one. But normally I'm like you guys, 20, 25% all day long, and then just dial down the throws where they make sense, 70%. If the book doesn't call out anything, you can always go 70% all around for a low rate, and 80, 90, 100 for high.
I usually do mine 80, 65, and then 45. I know 45 seems like a lot lower, but it's always worked out really well for me if I have something. Not on a jet, probably, because these usually like a lot of throw on the elevator. But on warbirds, I usually have those three settings every time I do a warbird, and it's worked out well, because warbirds really don't like to be over controlled with their elevators. So that
it also that have you noticed also between manufacturers too, like throws on servos. So some brands seem to have plenty of throw and need tamed down, and then others borderline on not having enough. And sometimes it may just be short servo arms versus longer, and also sometimes maybe just manufacturing differences. But I remember when there wasn't much to choose from, and everything was park zone, and the 100/70 thing worked for about everything, because the only thing at the moment being released for a short while was that park zone stuff. So all the books said the same thing: 100% high all around, 70% low all around. I think they still do that a lot on the Horizon stuff.
The other
you have
the
to
other what would you call it? Not expectation, but the other airplane brand that we would talk about on this is E-Flight. E-Flight is the exception to the rules. There we go. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. I don't run any expo on most of theirs. They don't normally call it out on their airplanes. Something to do with AS3X, but usually it's just rates on AS3X and no expo. So it depends on the airplane, of course. I think there is a couple of the warbirds that do recommend it, but I think most of the E-Flights actually say no expo and just rates.
That's right. And you know what? Lately, I think they've been getting stuff from all over the last few years. I've noticed what you say, Wesley, but I've also noticed all kinds of stuff. I mean, I remember the first Carbon Z Cub was talking about 125% throw travel on stuff, but you got to remember who designed that one. It was Kiki.
I think
right?
Kiki.
Somanzini.
I think Kiki Zoazini. I can't ever say his name right, but I've got the big Cessna from them, and I think the book rates for the Aura recommend 125 also to make all the gyro work correctly. So it really varies by brand.
And who's making it? Like who's setting it up? Like developer wise. Most run-of-the-mill stuff will never ask you to put in more than 100% travel in the book.
Right.
You know?
So,
it's fairly
Lori
unique.
said we had a question just a second ago, and I wanted to get to it real quick.
We actually have a couple of questions for Steve.
Okay.
What does Steve like and not like about his F-18?
Okay, so the question was, what does Steve like and what does he not like about his F-18?
Oh boy.
Tough one.
Tough one.
I like the gear. The gear is neat because it has kind of that look of the F-18 gear, although it's not scale. But especially the mains I'm talking about. I like that they did add lights to this plane because there is a tendency, I think, to maybe cut back on some of those features, but they did not in this regard. I'm going to be adding more lights to my gray one just to try to make it a little more scale, which is fine. The finish on this one has not been as good, I would say, as like say the L-39, for example. I see a little more dings and things like that it probably just handling, and I'm not worried about it myself, especially like with my gray one. If I'm going to be repainting it anyway, it's no big deal. I like the fact that they left some of the graphics off of it so that we could add them ourselves, like the tail flash numbers, obviously. I did mine for Captain, I think it's Jeff Coos, who lost his life over in Tennessee, flying number 6 a number of years ago. And then the decals did go on very easily, and they stuck well. They're not, sometimes the water slides, they don't want to stick right. And so they're not applied or not adhered well, but these went on great.
The other problem I have with water slides, and I'm kind of glad they're getting away from that, is that they get that kind of milky, opaque look after a while, and I'm not a fan of that. I really like the new graphics they're doing with most of the airplanes.
Yeah, if you gloss the surface where you're applying it with some clear, and then put it on, it's a whole lot better, and then you can dull coat it over the top or whatever, but it's extra work.
And I've got a graphic softener that I ordered that's made specifically for like model airplanes that you put on top of that. It's here somewhere, I can't think of where it is right now, but you put it on top of those water slides and it really helps them stick down and not do that milky. Lori said we actually had another question for you too, Steve. You still got that available right now?
Yeah. Someone wants to know if you fly stock.
What do you mean? Well, the question was, do you fly at stock? And I think I know the answer that yes, it is, isn't it?
This particular plane is stock as far as minor adjustments, taken into consideration for the throws. I tamed them down just a wee bit, but stock CG, and I do have the mixes that have been incorporated to add full span flaps and tailerons. But as much as possible, I try to fly them stock just as a baseline, to make adjustments from there to suit my own flying style and so forth. I don't use dual rates. I typically just set it for what feels good to me, and I fly it fast or whatever. I don't like to be flipping switches and having to remember that I need to go into a certain rate, that I need to land versus taking off or whatever. I try to keep it simple. But that's
the other half of that one that cracks me up is no, Steve does not keep his plane stocks, though. I know from seeing your MiG or your F-22 or, I mean, whatever it is, eventually he pimps them out like crazy.
It depends on the plane. Some planes I do that, and others I just want to fly. Like the F-35, I'm not going to make many changes, if any, to that. I'm just going to fly it, have fun with it. But yeah, the MiG-21, I had to make that thing the way it is. I had to dirty it up, and I like the custom paint job that I did on it, etc. So it depends on the plane. Depends on the model.
Okay. Well, Ryan, you want to tell the guys a little bit more about the FMS one that you have sitting there in front of you?
Yes. Captain Photon, by the way, thank you very much for noticing. I really don't shave unless I need to. So every couple of days, I mean, it's a nuisance. So yeah, watch the video on the FMS F-18. It's a 70mm in runner. It's a tremendous amount smaller than the 90mm, and it's not as feature rich as the 90mm. I've mentioned it before. It kind of has what looks like a not enough angle of attack sitting on the ground. Again, 70mm in runner, stock out of the box with suspension, FMS quality components, and it's a real surprise because you put it together and it goes together okay, but it doesn't knock your socks off just looking at it. There's some kind of mold. Look like they might have hurried here and there, you know, on some of the way it goes together. Not any of the parts that we put together, but when they build these out before they paint them, they're in pieces and they put them together like a puzzle. So some of that fit and stuff, you can tell they had to like nip and tuck a little bit maybe. But man, I really do like the wing root glove, the leading edges on this thing. They're really kind of thin and scale looking because they've got plastic along that leading edge. Any of you guys who've seen the E-flite F-16 or the FMS Yak 130 know what I mean. They put that plastic on the leading edge, which I think is killer. The flight times are sick, and the sound is amazing. They also have plastic clad intakes. If you've been following the F-18 discussions around the web lately, you'll know that they're different models. You see the square intakes on this FMS one versus the really cool round ones on the 90. And there's also more of a cross section. If you look profile at the 90, it's bigger, like height wise, going back here through the middle. And then the shape of the wing root glove is more of a Coke bottle instead of this kind of more typical thing that we tend to see. I'm actually super impressed with the 70mm F-18. I'm a little bit surprised that I was. I knew I flew one in Texas about a year ago. It was our buddy Dave Hawkers, and it was someone else's setup. I know how he likes to set his stuff up, and so it was a little bit mushy. I was flying his A4 in Texas the year before that, and I tweaked the setup because I knew what the A4 should feel like because I had one, and I fixed it. So I kind of knew going into it that it was going to feel a little bit mushy. And he also was flying heavier packs than it likes. I think if you're going to, the perfect batteries for the 70mm FMS F-18 is 4,000 and below. The 4,000 RC Jetworks pack is my favorite in here because it's a little bit lighter than my Admiral 4000s, although I know the plane can take 4500s and 5000s, they'll fit, but it's just, you get to a point where it's like, son of a gun, this mother is heavy.
Well, so, and the other thing that I would say on that is maybe even the help with the budget of it. So I just looked it up. So the FMS is $269, whereas the Freewing is $479, to get that exactly. And you know, $479 is not in everybody's budget. And neither are the $100 batteries for it, where some guys might already have the smaller packs, and I could see that being a lot more cost-effective way for the guy to go.
Also, you think about some guys already know where they want to go. Like if they're already into the 90s and they already have the bigger batteries, well, then that 90 makes more sense. If you're in E-Flight Viper town though, and you're like you're learning, you're new, maybe to EDFs or maybe just 70mm is where you want to hang out, and you have a bunch of 4000s or less than that, you know. Well, then it's an easy call. You know what I mean? It's an easy call. So I have some 4000s that get more love now than they used to because I have this 70mm deal, and then I was flying that F-16 from E-Flight on them as well. Even though they'll carry bigger batteries, I mean, we crammed a 4500 and a 5000 in the E-Flight Viper to see if we could, but I didn't like them that
It gets
way.
really heavy when you start putting those big batteries in those small airplanes.
Yeah, it's hard on the equipment too. I mean, it's hard on your lane. I mean, if you throw a big pack in something that's not made to have one, and then you gripe about the landing gear not holding up, you're kind of,
Right.
I mean, you know, come on.
Hey guys, real quick, since we got all three of them here, let's all kind of hold them up real quick and show guys kind of the top view of these planes. Just
Show the intakes
right.
real quick,
I'm going to hold
Wesley.
mine up like that. Steve, if you want to hold yours up for a second, and then I'll turn mine to the front here.
They're almost too big.
I know. It's crazy. I just kind of wanted to give them the top view of these planes too. All right, I'm going to turn mine towards the camera now so they can see the intakes. Let's see if you can see that. But if you can see there's not a good way to hold this right now, but on the F-18 from Freewing, they've got the legacy scoops on it, whereas on the FMS they're the square scoops, which I'm sure Ryan can show you too.
And seriously, check out my video, guys, because you get to see this thing in action out in the sunlight.
And there's going to be videos coming from all of us on our F-18s. There's been a lot of flack around this airplane lately that I don't know if it's 100% deserved either. Because I know the guys I've talked to that are pretty proficient, I would say modelers and hobbyists, aren't having the issues that I've been hearing about. So I'm kind of on the fence about that. Yeah.
Put up an undershot or a top shot so you can see the wing root glove shape difference.
Lori can probably do
For the
that real
guys.
quick. You'll just have to give us a second to put that camera in. We can get a top shot of ours for you. Yeah. Right. So on the FMS, it's more of like a triangle, whereas on the Freewing, they did a really good job of making the Coke bottle shape here. Right. You know the other cool thing, does the FMS have the vents that come through the top of the airplane? A little bit further, a little bit that way. Let's see.
No, but
Lori's on her other camera.
But they put cheaters. They're top and bottom. There's some right here that feed the fan. You can kind of see them. You can kind of see them. It's a solid little 70, and I tell you, if the looks don't get you, the sound of that fan will. And the flight times, I mean, watch that video, guys. I went over 4 minutes, and I landed at like 3/8 or something. 3/8 and some change. The one thing I got to tell you, too, to the guy who's limited on experience, I did notice, I feel like because the 70mm doesn't have any bells and whistles, doesn't have any gear doors or anything, when the gear are down, it's a little cleaner, a little more
slippery, maybe.
Honest. Yeah, in a way, where it makes it a little easier to maintain your speed and all. I mean, I made the big one in pretty ridiculous crosswind. It wasn't high digit wind, but it was still a crosswind, you know what I mean? And you got all those gear doors hanging down. And I had my work cut out for me, and I'm totally gonna gyro up.
Yeah.
Just because it's fun. You know, you don't have to. I love working the pitch and the throttle on approach so much that I don't want to really have to worry about the wing rock too much, and even rudder, just to correct the nose and all that. It's nice when you don't have to fight the wing rock, and because that 90's big, I've got room to put a gyro in there. I don't really have room to put a gyro in this FMS one unless I went with like a receiver gyro, and it's been so rock solid, I'm leaving it alone.
So Lori says we've got another question, guys. Let's get her in real quick.
Someone wants to know if y'all think this would be a good follow-up to like a Viper.
So someone wants to know if this would be a good follow-up airplane to a Viper. I don't.
I kind of think
no.
no.
I would say no. This isn't going to be your second or maybe even third jet. I would say this one's going to be after you get a little more comfortable. Although it flies really well, I would call this a more experienced jet. Steve, what's your thoughts on that?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't see this one being your second jet.
You know, if you really are in love with the F-18 though, and you're dying for it to be your second jet, then try to get your hands on one of the 64mm ones. You know,
right.
Like the hand launch kind of deal, or fly that E-flite F-15, the small, you know.
Yeah, I've got it sitting over there.
And see how you get along with that, because there's going to be similarities to those.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I wouldn't. We're trying to be honest with you guys. I know most guys would be out there like, yeah, sure, but we're really trying to give you the honest facts on this whenever me and Ryan are talking about stuff now, and we really don't think this would be the right airplane for you.
That looks awesome, Steve.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to see the painted gear.
Yeah, the white looks great.
So
you did the inside of the gear doors too, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't do inside the wheelbase, but I just did the inside of the gear doors.
They look awesome.
Mm-hmm, they do. See, and I don't know on the gray ones just because I haven't thought about it, but are they green or are they white also? Would you know, Steve, on these gray F-18s?
I think they're all white.
Yeah.
I'd have to guess white if I were guessing.
Yeah. I might have to do mine now too because that does look good.
It really
good.
set it off, I think.
Yeah.
They look really good, and you know what? When if you lube them up at all, or you know how things kind of shave the metal after time and kind of dirty them up just naturally.
Yeah.
That's scale too.
Yeah. Well, cool.
That's why they paint the floors and hangers so they know when something's dripping.
Right.
And that's kind of I think that may be why they do the struts like that so they can see where problems are in the way of hydraulics and things like that.
So Lori says we had another question.
Someone wants to know what y'all's opinion would be on painting, or like not painting, but grunging up the Blue Angels.
So the question was, what do we think about weathering the Blue Angels paint job? In my opinion, I probably wouldn't do it. I might actually do a shiny paint job on that one where the people have been min-waxing them, because the Blue Angels planes are actually kind of shiny in real life. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I agree with Wes.
I plan to paint gloss coat on this eventually. I just haven't done it yet. But doing a polyacrylic clear gloss, and go that route. If you look at them up close, they do show signs of weathering and so forth. I think they're very immaculate.
It's not like the other birds in the Air Force or the Marines or anyone. Those are their show birds, so it's kind of like the Thunderbirds plane. They're usually pretty clean. They take pretty good care of those airplanes. There you go. He's got his shiny coats.
So here's a question. While we're talking about the gear, it's for Steve. Did you take the gear out to paint them? Bobby's Hobbies.
Absolutely, yes. I took them loose. I took them loose. The mains, you got to pull the plates loose, and then I just pulled the gear out and got to the set screws real easy that way for the strut. One strut I had that was hung up, a little bit of Loctite in it. Being pulled out, I was able to lay it on its side and take a lighter right where that mounts, and it came right loose from the strut pin. And then I have some like 3/16 brass rods or whatever fits inside there, brass tube that I put up in there and set the screws on them to hold them. And then I stick those down into like a block of clay so I can spray them and have them sitting there. They're not laying or touching anything while they dry. And I just use a white gloss enamel. I didn't do anything. I wiped them off with some denatured alcohol, and I masked where the like the piston rod or the piston shaft would be.
Oh yeah.
Any place I didn't want any paint, I put a little masking tape on it, and then I just shot them with the gloss white enamel.
Sweet.
Those look sweet. I've only seen the white struts online, except stuff you've done, Steve, and my buddy Jason Wrigley at Jet Jam. He painted up one of the FMS VAE Hawks custom and did some of that, and it really does set it off. It's amazing what little stuff will do, you know, to really make them your own and look super cool.
And speaking of, I mean, making them your own and customizing, I mean, any guys that have been over to our channel this week, I have had several videos up of us doing this custom paint job here. And I've had a lot of fun with it. And most guys that come and see the Mary Boozers channel, I know there's probably some new people in here tonight. They've seen us doing the customization paint stuff. And I love it, man. It's one of the fun things. Steve has got some of the most awesome mods I've ever seen. He put a parachute in his F4 and his canopy mods that he does on his planes. I mean, he's pretty amazing at this stuff too.
For sure.
Some planes lend themselves to that stuff and some don't. And it depends on the size of it, the complexity of the mod. The parachute F4 really turned out well, and that was a collaborative effort with Paul Helmsman. He really worked on the chute side of it while I worked on the mechanism side. And that just turned out really well.
So
that was awesome, by the way, Steve.
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing the formation lights on this one? Because I've seen that, and that looks so cool to me, but I don't know how hard that is.
Good question, and yes, the answer is yes. On my gray one, I'm looking at doing formation lights. I'm not looking at something that I can sell. I'm just trying to make something that looks right for me. So I'm incorporating some square styrene tube, and I've ordered some small micro LEDs that will fit inside that to light the inside of that tube up as evenly as I can get it. I'm experimenting. Some of the times I like to just see what can I do, how will it turn out if I try this or if I try that, just for my own giggles. I'm trying to see what I can come up with. So, you know, yes, I am going to look at formation lights. I've already got my Strobon V2s and the tail fins, the vertical fins on the gray version that I'm working on. And I vacuum formed some lens covers for those and painted the inside of them with transparent red. They're also red lights, so I'll have those flashing. And then I've got a white LED on the back of the right vert that will be pointing aft. But the formation lights or slime lights are what's next. And so the trickiest ones to do are going to be the ones in the wingtips where the missile pylons are. So I'm still working on that, trying to formulate how to do that.
Lori says we've got another question real quick too, guys.
We were asking
I got one too.
about a canopy mod from Steve on this plane.
I'm sure Steve's going to canopy mod it. I don't even have to really ask him that. Ryan, what was your question?
I don't know. I want to hear what Steve's got to say. He may be like wanting to do something else. You never know.
All right. Well, Steve.
Yeah, the canopy mod on the F-22 really was a good fit because Motion or Alpha had designed the frame for it. Okay, now it wasn't something that they sold or stocked or anything like that, but they had the 3D files for it.
Yeah.
It was a start. Now it needed some changes to it, and with the help of a friend who is much more advanced with using 3D CAD than I am, I'm still trying to learn it. He was able to help alter the arm on that thing a little bit so I could make it work. You know, not having access to CAD files and stuff like that, it makes it more of an old school mod in that case. 3D printing is amazing, and there's so much you can do with that stuff, but the CAD side of it is where I lack, and I'm still trying to speed up on that. But if I can't 3D print it, then I have to old school mod it, however it may be. I just got done siliconing the dive brake for the back of this thing, so I built up a clay frame around it and put silicone in it to get a mold for that dive brake area.
That's what my question was. I was getting ready to ask you if that was in the future for you. Is it a dive brake same as an air brake, or is it strictly a dive brake, not like a landing brake?
I am not 100% sure. Speed brake, whatever you want to call it. It's a plate that rises up, similar to what's on top of the F-15. I have the F-15 mechanism.
I was going to ask, are you going to use the same hardware to make it happen?
That was my intention, and it's not something I necessarily want to use in flight, but maybe on touchdown, it might be neat to see that thing pop up. I don't know. It's got the American flag on it. The scheme that I'm going to be doing on the gray is a VFA 192 Golden Dragons, and that dive brake has stars and bars on it, which is kind of neat.
That's super neat.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Guys are going to want one if you do it. Do you think you're going to have to cut? I mean, it's a bifurcated outlet, on the ducting. So there's kind of a lot of meat there. Are you going to have to carve it up a little bit to fit that mechanism?
Yeah, in this spine right here, there's probably just enough. There might be something that would hang down just to the airflow, but I don't think it would be too intrusive. I have to play with that. But, now that I have the mold, I can make that piece out of fiberglass. It'll be good and strong. I can design well enough a 3D printed hinge for it. And then just a matter of mounting the jack screw that drives it. And, the thing about I got to deal with is I don't have enough channels to play with too much. If I want to have certain features, then I may have to give up others because I'm limited on that.
You know what? I'm going to give you permission to upgrade your radio to whatever channels you need so we can all see the cool stuff you do.
IX-12, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet.
Oh, IX-12, that one will do your laundry, make some popcorn, fold it, and also fly your planes.
There's one laying around here somewhere at the Boozers channel. People may have seen us liking that before.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lori, I saw what you just did. That's hilarious.
We realized it late in the game here. So Lori had said we had another question here in a second.
It's a bit off topic.
Okay.
But it's been asked, what is Steve's background?
Well, I don't know if Steve wants to answer that or not, but that's up to him if he does.
I don't have a problem with that.
All right, so the question was, what is Steve's background? Because sometimes the audience can't hear what Lori says, so I just want to make sure everybody can hear that.
Yeah, as far as what I do, I'm a manufacturing engineer for a site that makes laboratory equipment. I have more of a background in refrigeration, heating, and air conditioning than anything else, but I've modeled planes since the 70s. I actually had a Bob Violet A4 Skyhawk back around, I guess back around 81, 82 time frame, because the Blue Angels came to my hometown and did an air show, and I just flipped out, and I had to have one. So I ordered one, and I put it together, and it took me over a year to do, but it was an old internal combustion ducted fan, had the K&B 7.5 cc ducted fan engine and the tune pipe and the whole bit. And I flew it. I actually flew it. But that was my first experience with any kind of a jet. And then I got out of the hobby for a period of time after about 1992-ish. I got into helicopters, even flew in the Nationals, competing there. And then I quit about 93 and didn't get back into it until 2015. And everything had changed with all the electrics. It was just, wow. I just was like a candy store with all these jets. It was just fabulous.
Yeah. I know what you mean on that, too, because, I mean, like I've told people in the past, we flew back in the early 90s up until I graduated in about 2007. And then I kind of got out of the hobby also. And it was amazing just from then till I got really heavy back into the hobby about 2 years ago, how much these airplanes have changed. Because when I was flying back then, it was the GW slow stick was like the hot thing. And I still have one, and Ryan gives me heck about it sometimes. But to go from what they were to what they are now, it just blows me away.
Yeah, you guys have both got more experience than I do, really. I came in, you guys know, I came in when electrics were going from brushed to outrunner and nickel metal to lipo. 10 years ago, I got it bad, like for the hobby, like bad. I got it bad, and I got it quick. Yep. So I really don't know anything but electrics.
Right. Well, Lori says we had another question. I figured I'd just see what's up.
This one's for Ryan. It is
false.
Do you plan on putting a working tail hook on one of these F-18s?
So, do you plan on putting a working tail hook on yours, Ryan?
No.
No catching the wire with this one, huh?
Here's why. Because I knew I shouldn't even mention it on the T-45 because it takes me a long time to get things done. It's not because I'm sitting around watching Oprah eating bonbons. But when you put these things out there, then folks want to see it, and I get it. The T-45, I still got to do it, and I can't wait to. But because the way that's taken so long, and the fact that I sold a house yesterday, and probably got to fix up another one that I don't even know what it is yet, I'm not going to sign on for any other kind of special assignments at the moment. But I am still. We'll see how it goes. The T.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I think your T-45 is probably my favorite airplane you own, but I might be a little biased. Right. Right. So, Lori. Lori's got us another question.
Is anyone planning on putting screens on their intakes?
I am not, but so the question is anybody going to put a screen on their intake? I guess they're worried about maybe getting FOD in them. I've never had an issue with my fans sucking anything up, but I do fly off of that Geotex. I don't know about guys that fly off of grass. And I also don't know about blocking the intakes if that's going to choke off your fans. Do you guys have any recommendations on that?
Every now and then, you know that movie Cocoon where all the old people go to the beach or whatever? That sunset or sunrise or whatever?
Nah, bro, I'm young.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, okay. It's a thing that happened in the movies a while back. Well, when it rains, he's got the blur on a Skype. He's got to disable it. The blur the background icon, Steve, just disable it on your call. All the worms crawl up onto the Geotex and dry up and die. And it's hilarious when you hear yourself suck one up in a jet because it just ticks.
Right.
There he is.
Right. We lost him for a second.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, he got fussy.
You know, we're definitely trying some cutting edge stuff tonight, guys. I hope y'all are really enjoying us. I thought this is just the coolest thing to be able to have people on the show hanging out. You know, every week you get to see the same old guys, but how cool is it that you're getting to see us actually all at the same time talking about these airplanes? I mean, isn't this so cool?
We've been looking forward to it all week. It's a lot of fun, and I mean, it really is. You know, the interview style, kind of bringing guys on, was my whole intention in the first place, but I didn't know how to do it without help, and I still don't. So the only reason that there's any potential for that in my future is really because of the boozers in the first place. George was gracious enough to help me the first few weeks of the show, but I mean, I couldn't keep him on every Saturday night or whatever like that. You know, that's a hard road.
Right. You know, and Steve, thank you so much for coming tonight. He was awesome to us this week. Steve went out and got him a webcam. He was excited. Thank you for coming on the show tonight, Steve.
It's my pleasure. I've enjoyed it. I hope it's been helpful. So.
Definitely. And we definitely plan on having you back in the future.
Yeah, that'd be my pleasure.
Yeah, and I'm going to get I got Steve as a reference now too, and Ryan. They've both flown it. I'm going to be leaning on them before my maiden flight. I saw Steve's mixes today, and man, I'm drooling over the way he set his F-18 up now with the full-length flaps and then the Televons or Taylor-ons, however you call that. Man, that is awesome. I got to do it. Can't help it. I got to do it.
You gonna maiden stock first, or you gonna go commando style like Steve?
I think I might go commando. I'm gonna see how his setup works first. Let's see if he has an airplane still in a week, and then I might do mine that way.
Yeah, are you gonna let him go first?
Yep, I think we're gonna let Steve go first.
I'll try to fly it at George's this coming week.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I've got guys that have been seeing it behind me. I've still got to fly my F-35, and I know everybody's saying it's awesome. I can't wait to fly it, and it's just hadn't had the chance. But I got a 4-day weekend this weekend, so I'm going to fly that. I'm going to fly the L-39. I've still never flown the L-39, and everybody says that's amazing.
I'm so mad. I'm mad I got rid of the F-35 before I got a chance to video it. I got to get another one. We had that great unboxing, Wesley, and then I flew it 4 times at Jet Jam, and I got rid of it because I got a 1.5 F-14s I had to make room for.
Oh man, but I'm jealous of that too. I would probably have made that sacrifice to have the F-14.
For sure, dude. And I'll just get another. I'm gonna get another F-35 because I really didn't get done with it. Steve likes flying his on 4000s, I think, if I remember right.
Correct.
And I was still nervous. You guys know me by now. Early flights, I go heavy. I go maybe a little nose heavy. Just because. But once I get cozy, I really want to see how light I can get him to act. You know, not tail heavy and pitchy, but Steve was flying that F-35 with a 4000 and a Neffy, and it looked really well balanced that way. So I got to get another one, make a video for you guys as well, and fly it on 4000s. I kind of think I want to put a gyro in it.
Yeah.
I have in mind turned way down, not very high gain, and it's locked in the way it feels. And
you know my trick on the gyro gains? It's probably not like anything really groundbreaking. That's probably what everybody does. It is I'll go as fast as I can, and even out of a dive or a downwind. And the idea is there's no oscillation. If there's a little bit of oscillation, obviously you have to get out of the power or you'll shake your plane apart. But you know, to cut it back a little bit and try it again. That's what I do. And once I get it set to where it doesn't oscillate at fast speeds, I usually leave it alone, or I can remember where I put it. It usually ends up being between like 10 and 12, I think, for me on the clock, so to say. But I have flown in crazy, crazy winds where I was like, I'm just going to shoot landings on this thing, and I crank them way up.
Yeah.
So, real quick, guys, Lori's got a question for us.
I was told to ask Steve about his F-18 formation flight at Neffy.
So, Lori was asked to ask you about your formation flight at Neffy, Steve.
Formation flying is not my forte. I get nervous in crowds like that, but it's something that I really admire those that do it and do it well. They have to practice that, and I don't practice it a lot. So when I get into let's do a gaggle, and I'm like, okay. But anyway, it was okay. We did well. No collisions, of course, and that's the goal.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, it's not the thing I feel the most comfortable doing, but just because I haven't done it much, and I haven't had an opportunity to do it. So,
well, if you're coming to the Jolly Good Fly-In, we might actually have to do some formation. I'm pretty decent at it.
Yeah, that's a great place to fly, by the way. I was there back in the spring. They had a little mini fun fly there just for a day. I drove down, and it's at an actual airport, and you're flying one of the taxiways, so it's wide open. So,
speaking of formation, if I can get in on this when you're done,
get in.
Remind me.
Get in. Come on.
It is hard, and it is spooky, and if you value your money at all, it's a little nerve-wracking. The guys who fly formation the best don't give a rip. You know what I mean? And I know a handful of those guys, and they were at Neffy. The Timber brothers, Joe and Bradley, and their dad, Bill, they fly together pretty well. And then our buddy who's local, Bobby Committa and Captain Mike, actually anybody who tries to fly with Bobby usually can form up and do decent. He's the guy who flew with me on that F-22 video where we had the different power systems. Well, so the Timber brothers had F-86s. Bobby Committa's got a F-86, and then the Timber father, Bill, he had an F-86. They flew formation at Neffy, and I think they all four were in the frame the whole time. And that's a video that's coming eventually. But we got it, we captured it at Muncie. So there was actually a midair, but everyone still landed. So, and it's on film, so I can't wait for you guys to see that. But if you ever get to watch the Timber brothers, or Bobby and Adam or any of those guys fly together, they're really good at it.
Sweet.
Those four planes flying together sounded so cool.
Oh man, the F-86 sounds good anyway, and four of them together was like, get out of town, this is awesome.
I think the F-86, I have one, and I think that's probably the best sounding EDF. Still, even though it's old, I still think that is the coolest sounding airplane. Something about the way that airplane's built just makes it sound awesome.
Man, let me put it in the perspective that it's a bit of a romance for me on that F-86. It was like my first EDF that I was glad to have and didn't think was a piece of crap. So you know what I mean? Flaps and retracts, suspension, 6-cell power. I'm like, yeah, I'm a big boy now. So it's North American Aviation, the makers of our favorite warbirds. You know what I mean? B-25s, P-51s, numerous other things. So, and I really have to think like some of the same designers, the legacy of that group of designers that were working on these warbirds designs were definitely involved, or their DNA is in that F-86. I mean, the F-86 looks like a warbird with a jet engine through the middle.
Right.
And there's no frills, there's no weird tricks, there's no dampeners of airflow. There's not on the model anyway. And it's just right through the middle, and it just sounds awesome. Mm-hmm. And I never should have got rid of mine.
I love it. Yeah, I got it for Dad for Christmas, and he loves it. Lori says she's got another question for us, though.
So y'all were talking about the Jolly Good Fly-In. Someone just asking, what is the Jolly Good Fly-In? Where is it at?
Jolly Good Fly-In. It's in, Steve, what's the name of the town the Jolly Good's in?
It's in Dalton, Georgia.
There you go. Motion RC puts it on here. I'll get the sheet up here so I know all of it.
It's on the Motion RC Fan Media Facebook group under events, but it is going to be right before Labor Day. if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
and I'm looking it up right now as quick as I can, guys, and I'll give you all the specifications real quick. But yeah, Motion RC's fan media page. Oh, they took it off the top of it now. Now I have no idea where it is.
Look under events. Just go to events.
I don't remember. Events. There it is. I found it.
Yeah.
And it's not showing up for me. Well, I said I was going to look it up. And
What's it doing?
it's not coming up. I can't find it. Well, I remember it's the end of August, beginning of September, right? I think it's the last weekend.
I think it's Labor Day weekend.
June, July, August, September. Yeah, it's the last weekend in August going into September. I do know that, but I can't remember the exact dates off the top of my head, and I can't get it to come up right now. I'm sorry about that. It's an event in Dalton, Georgia, though, that's going to be sponsored by Motion RC. It's at an actual airport. It's going to be really cool, guys that are coming. Motion's going to be there in full force, I'm sure. Steve's looking it up right now.
Yeah, they're sponsoring the event, so
Yeah.
it's actually a collaborative effort between the club that James is a member of, Cobb County RC Flyers, and the club up there at Dalton. So they're only like 45-minute drive apart.
Right, and the good news is that one's close enough to me. I wasn't really trying to go to any more big fly-ins this year, but it just so happened that I'm off that whole weekend now with a 4-day weekend, and so I said I gotta go. So I'm doing everything I can to make it. I think me and Kevin Farrows, who's probably in the chat right now, are both going to be there, so it'll be a lot of fun. I know it will be.
Here it is.
Yeah, okay.
It's August 30th. Dalton Municipal Airport.
There you go, guys. August 30th through September. It's a 2-day event, if I remember right. It's Saturday and Sunday. Oops.
It's Sunday, what it says.
Yep. So
Anyway,
It's August 30th to August 33rd.
to September 1st.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Anyway, quick question, guys. Do either one of you guys have any experience with the F-104 Starfighter from Freewing? I just got mine in. It's been my dream plane forever. I'm a little scared of that airplane. It's one of the few airplanes I've ever been scared of.
It's my favorite airplane to write with.
Are you talking the 70?
I got the 70.
Yeah. I don't have any personal experience with the 70 or the 90. So to me, the man in the missile, the other acronyms or other names it's been given,
My favorite one is the son of a bitch. I like it when they call it that.
Keep the speed on.
Right.
No, actually, I saw one. I look at that thing and I'm like, this thing's going to be awful. And I saw a guy making the 90mm at Jet Jam, and it was very well behaved. I would say this, though. If the company that makes it doesn't put gyros in anything, but they put one in that one, you might want one in it.
I know I was just asking for trouble buying it, but it's always been one of my favorite planes. We were talking about the legacy. What's that?
You love it. I've known that about you forever, and I've always given you hell. But man, it's cool. Do it, dude. It looks like it flies in a straight line really well.
Yeah, it's one of those legacy planes, like the F-86. It's kind of from that era kind of thing, and I grew up watching the movie The Right Stuff. I'm sure everybody's seen that, and the beginning scene where Chuck Yeager's flying it up and he bails out of it. It's just one of those things that I've always remembered from a kid, and the love of aviation kind of started watching those movies and things. And when I saw it, I was like, I gotta have it. Eventually, if I don't get it right now, I gotta have it eventually. And I was like, it's my birthday, let's do this. So I had to have it. It's going to stay in the box for right now. We've got so much other stuff going, but I've got one now.
Check out Victor Shamulis's YouTube channel, because he, I think, films everything. And he takes a 104 out fairly regularly, I believe. Still,
You know, I saw one fly at Joe Knoll, and I was kind of surprised how slow it actually will fly.
It's got a fat airfoil to make up for its looks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I was actually kind of surprised with it, and it was funny. The guy was coming in, dragging the tail, landing it. So at high alphas.
That's crazy.
Which I just wouldn't think of. But it's one of those things, you know, you get to a point in your RC modeling career after you've flown everything, you're like, all right, I want something that's really hard to fly. So
Dave Marshall said something. He goes, if Chuck Yeager had to bail out of it, how do you think you're going to do?
Well, you know, I'm the RC Chuck Yeager. I'll put it that way.
Hey! You got to. I've already wrote that saying.
Okay.
It's on all my T-shirts in invisible ink.
Right. You know, the other plane that I was just blown away with this year, and everybody's always told me, you know, we're getting pretty far in, and I just kind of wanted to talk about some other stuff now, guys. But the other plane that I was blown away with this year that I got to finally fly was an Avanti. I've got the Avanti S sitting on the table over there, and man, it's as sweet as everybody says it is.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah. Steve, have you flown the Avanti?
Are you talking the Freewing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the red version. Very nice flying plane. I enjoy it very much. We did a speed competition down there in Florida, and was just to, you know, people were like, you ought to try it, see what the Avanti does. And I'm like, I really don't care, but anyway. Put them in dives, and with a radar gun, the thing hit 133, which tied Gallagher, who was flying the 80mm FMS Hawk.
Yeah.
And I let him walk away with the trophy. But
I was
anyway,
right
it was
there with you guys too at that radar gun. I was flying my 90mm T45, and I was hitting 130. I think I was like 134. We were all within a couple miles an hour of each other.
That Avanti's a good size. I mean, it's bigger. I think there's more wing on that Avanti than those other two, and it was still putting it out there with the speed.
Right, and you know, we were all diving at it, and I don't know what the straight line speeds of these are, but when one comes by you at 130 miles an hour, that is moving. I mean, when they're that big. You know, I've got the EFX Racer, and it'll do 130. I'm pretty sure now in a dive. But there's something impressive about the 90s.
Steve had a Stinger 90 that he had so hot that the foam was coming apart out of the intake, wasn't it?
No, that was my Rare Bear on 6S. That thing was insane.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
I thought you had a Stinger 90 on 8S that was nuts.
At first year at Neffy, I was there. I did have my Stinger 90 on 8S. It had an 8S JP fan in it with a Castle Talon 120 ESC, and it was a great combination in that plane, and it flew fantastic.
It flew the paint off of it, didn't it?
Well, no, the one that was ingesting itself really actually was the Rare Bear, and it was something. The wind coming off the edge of that spinner. It was eating the raw foam away on the inside of the cowl and spitting it into the fuselage. Wow. I had to paint the inside of that cowl to keep that from happening.
That's awesome.
Speaking of all these crazy size batteries, I'm getting excited for RC Jetworks, and I got that 12S HSD Super Viper coming right now. I can't imagine what it's going to be like flying 12S. I've never done it before. I know you've flown the airplane I'm getting, Ryan, but you flew on a turbine, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's amazing.
It's gonna be, you know, bigger does everything slower, right? So it's gonna feel like a Carbon Z Avanti, massive size. I mean, look at the shape of them; they're the same.
Right. Dude, I'm so excited for that. Hopefully, it's here. It's supposed to be here Thursday. And if everything works out good, I'm going to do that one next week. And
you know what, Wesley? You're going to mess around and make a bunch of us guys get one of those.
Man, that's got to be like the ultimate foam airplane right now. I can't think of anything better than that.
I've been
maybe
holding
the
out
HSD
because
F-16, maybe. But it won't. The F-16 wouldn't fly as good as the Viper.
Here's the word on the street from the man who knows, Andy. There's enough wing on that Super Viper that you can stay with the stock 105 HSD system, and it'll do okay. Although I think the one you're getting is already hopped up.
He's custom building the whole thing.
The 110, you get the 110
right.
jet
it's
fan.
It's literally going to come out of the box, receiver and everything already installed. Just bind it to my radio.
RC Jetworks outfitted.
Right.
Now, the F-16 reportedly must have that upgrade to do well because the stock 105 is not quite up to task.
That's kind of what I've heard too. You got to fly like full throttle the entire time you're flying it.
Yeah, that's why you can find a lot of 105mm HSD fans for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody gets the F-16, I think probably more than the Super Viper, and they got to hop them up.
And I think they've got a F-18 now, don't they? I swear I've seen that. I can't remember.
I think you've seen that. You've seen the BVM stuff.
It might have been
I think
BVM.
lately.
I can't remember right now. It's crazy.
Bob Violet models.
Right. Dude, guys, we're holding the chat steady tonight at 66 too.
70.
Or 70. That's been some records for the boozers tonight.
That's awesome.
It is. And anyway, guys, what else y'all got to talk about tonight?
Oh my gosh. Watch my videos. That's what I got to talk about. You know what I mean? Tap the bell for notifications on all your buddies. I've got more videos than I can get through. I want you guys to see them. We capture that stuff at these events the best we can and to share them. So we've got videos of our buddies flying as well as ourselves. I got another video on... I have more than I can remember, actually, but I know the first couple that I want to put out are the Freewing F-18 now. I did another flight on the Arrows Corsair at Muncie, which is cool to be able to have, it feels like half a mile to do touch and goes. And then I flew Mike Kennedy's F-16, the E-Flight one, and he wanted me and Mike to sign it, so we did that on film and that kind of stuff. So after that, I'll have to remember. I got that 4-ship formation flight to put out. And then Bobby Comita's first flight on the Cessna 170 from Flex Innovations in the middle of the night with the lights on. Bobby's first flight was sick. You'd think he flew it 100 times.
Yeah, that plane is awesome.
I can't wait to show you. I mean, we were having a ball. I was like, this guy's flying it really good. Also, he doesn't care what happens to it. And it's his first flight, and it's not his, and it's dark. It was late. We had been relaxing, air quotes, at the site, and we really had a lot of fun. I wonder how much audio I'm gonna have to edit out of that flight because we were just having a ball watching him fly.
And guys that haven't checked out Steve's YouTube page either, or YouTube channel, he's got some really cool stuff on his channel about some of the mods he's done and things. Definitely go check out Steve. And Lori says we got another question too. Let's see what Lori's got for us.
Less than a question, more of a shout out. We have a new guy in here who says it's his first time on our show, named Anthony Sanfilippo.
So we've got a first-time viewer to all three of us tonight, Anthony Sanfilippo.
He's been over before. He's been inducted into the Hanger Rat Hall of Fame. He's been on the show.
He hadn't been to the Boozers then. Well, welcome, Anthony. It's good to have you.
And we were asked if y'all would...
Joe Ream, Timber Brother, relaxed.
F-14 compact.
So we've been asked to talk about the F-14. I have no experience with it, but I think, Steve, you've got one, don't you?
Oh, boy. Just because my I'm RC Jet Dude doesn't mean I got all the jets. I wish I did, but
So Ryan, you got us all beat. You're the only one with one right now.
Yeah, and I'm too scared to plug it in. I haven't done anything to set it up. I actually plugged it in last night and bound it. When I bought it, I got it with the receiver as well because it was already dialed in. I got it from Andy at RC Jetworks. So it was set up on his radio, which I believe is a DX9, and I bound it to my DX8, and all the surfaces went nuts. I really just wanted to drop the landing gear because I was thinking about having it back here on my table for last night's show. And that thing's so big, I was just going to stack them all on top of it. But, yeah, I've absolutely no experience with it yet.
Now, if Motion wants to send us all three one to review like this, we'd gladly do it, right? Of course.
Yeah.
I did get to see Rich Baker fly one at Joe Knoll. You might have seen
I
that
got
too.
to see it fly, and I got to see, or it was Rich Baker, yeah. The RC Informer, for guys that are wanting to check out his channel.
And that was actually the first time I've ever seen the F-14 fly.
Yeah, I've never seen one before that either. So that was really cool. It looked like it flew great with the wings out. I would be afraid to sweep the wings always. That'd be my only thing.
It's one of those things I think you get out of your system one time or another.
Right.
I feel like the F-86 is one of those too, just like P-51. I mean, sometime or another you got to get it out of your system. I think the F-86 is the P-51 of jets, and you got to do one of those sometime. And the F-14 is definitely not for everyone, but it's like if you're on your journey and you a few steps in, I think it's one of those things you want to get your hands on at once. But it's easy to. I mean, it's been out for a while, and I'm just now getting my hands on one.
Yeah.
So it's easy to put it off. Our runway is small. It takes 2 batteries. The wing sweeps. The mixing is a bit it's daunting. It may not be that bad, but I mean the best thing I think. Obviously, RC Informer flies really well, but I think one of the best things I took from the videos he made was that stock was just fine.
Right.
Like stock call outs and everything is just fine. I think the only thing I want to do is mix it where it's impossible to screw things up. Like I want to do a mix where it's impossible for me to sweep the wings with the flaps down, right? Because you'll chew them up.
Right.
It'll rip your flaps off or stall out the mechanism. Then you got a big $800 brownout problem flying through the air.
Right.
So you never know.
I think that's another reason I haven't ever had that one is the price. Like I have the A10 and guys have seen that fly, but man, when you go out to fly it and you've got the 2.6 packs every time you want to fly it, it's hard to do it, man, because you burn up your battery so fast you can't charge them fast enough. So it's got to be a day that you're like really foaming to fly that one airplane. I actually don't fly the A10 very much just because of that. I love the way it flies, but man, it's hard having 2 5,000s every time you fly.
Well, the thing about the F-14 too is unlike a lot of these new aircraft where it's really easy to take wings off, you are not taking apart the F-14 to get it anywhere. I will tell you this because I know I had like 11 in the car. It's really easy to take the verticals off and unplug them right there with just like 4 screws or something. So you can get the verticals out of the way so you can stack on top of it and you can get the nose cone off. But that's like it. That thing is going the way it is.
It'd be ridiculous to try and take it off.
People sweep the wings for transport and then fly it
wings
out.
Yeah.
That's one of those planes that I want. I really, you guys should know this about me by now. Like, I think everything flies. I think it's easy to fly planes.
Right.
I think the landings are one of my favorite parts because it's hard to make them look good. And so I like to figure those things out. And for me, the F-14, I think what really solidified it in my mind was probably RC Geek, or maybe it was someone else, but it was full span flaps, and they came in and had a great landing, and I was like, yep, I want that.
It does look awesome.
Andrew Williams, by the way, flies the hell out of his F-14. He had it with him at Jet Jam, and it was fun to watch. Adam had one at Jet Jam, and I think it was just his first 2 flights. So definitely, Andrew Williams has some flight time on his, and it was fun to watch. He did a custom paint scheme on that as well.
Steve, I don't know if your kids are around. If they wanted to say hi, you're more than welcome to let them to the group. They might all be in bed, I understand.
Nathan, you want to say hi? He's sitting here listening.
Nathan's a veteran of the podcast circuit at this point.
Come on, Ryan. There's Nathan.
Hey, what's up, guy? Good to see you again.
Say hi to all the Boozer family here.
Hello.
Oh.
Yeah, he's in August, so he's doing real good flying, and having a ball flying that little X520 by XK, vertical takeoff, horizontal flight, whatever.
Yeah,
that thing's a lot of fun. And he won this VTIC plane at Neffy, so he's got it put together, and I got a receiver will be here tomorrow and a prop for it, and so he wants to fly that sometime here soon.
Yes.
I love that you got your son doing this hobby with you. I mean, it's just awesome, man.
Yeah, he's been to a lot of the shows recently with me. Joe Nall spent a week with me at Joe Nall, and went up to Muncie, so he got to go to AMA headquarters. And anyway, we always go up to George's. The kids always love to go to George's and fly and hang out, and they have a great time.
Heck, I'd be a kid that wants to go to George's hangar. Holy cow, he has every airplane under the sun hanging off the ceiling in there.
those guys are flying every day too, aren't they, Steve?
Yeah, he's trying to fly every day, but he had a little slip up, and so we can say so many days out of a year. Had he not slipped up, he would have been coming up on a year on the 4th of July here.
Oh man,
But,
give him a mulligan.
We'll give him a mulligan.
Sometimes life don't give us mulligans, man.
I know, just lemons.
That's when you make lemonade.
Hilarious. That's when you make lemonade and 5 videos about that crash.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man. Well, it's cool that your dad let you come on tonight.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're rolling on an hour and a half now. Is there any other questions in the chat for any of us?
I saw
What
one.
you get, Ryan?
I don't know if we want to go there.
I don't know. Kid friendly, kid friendly.
No, it's kid friendly. Did you see it, Lori?
I guess I missed that one.
What was it?
I'll go there now because we're all interested. Bobby's Hobbies asks, what do you guys think about the supposed blue box issues on the forums?
Excellent question.
Yeah. I don't think there is one right now, but this is my opinion. I've seen Ryan's flown his, Steve's flown his. I've got mine and hooked up and tested everything. I haven't seen any issues with it. I'm not saying it's not there, but we've got 3 sitting here. We all paid for these, our own money. These are not sponsored airplanes. I want to make that very clear. These are bought out of our hard-earned money.
Well, you know what, too, Wesley? I venture to say this. Whether or not they're provided, we're going to tell you the truth about them anyway. But have you heard that Milli Vanilli song?
Mm-mm.
Blame it on the box.
No.
Blame it on the
Nope.
box. Yeah.
Maybe.
Instead of blame it on the rain.
Oh, maybe.
I think when I crash mine, I'm going to blame it on the box. You know what? I just realized what happened on my Corsair
Right,
flight.
the blue box went out on it,
It
right?
was the box.
So you ought to get a new one.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be funny. I don't know anything about it, so I again have no opinion. I know this though, and Steve could probably back this up as well. I think if there were a known issue, they'd pull the plug as soon as they could,
and I think they would
do their best to make it right.
They'd make it right. If I know anything about motion RC, they'd make it right if there gets to be a known issue with these airplanes.
I do know that the same blue boxes are what they put in the L-39 and the F-22.
Okay.
And
you're not seeing the problems out of them.
From what I've understood from the way they build these planes in the factory, and this is directly from Alpha, they're all in the same bin. So they pull from the same bin when they make these runs of these planes. They're making a few of this and a few of this and a few of this at the same time. So we're not seeing failures in those planes to speak of the magnitude that people seem to be reporting. But I think a lot of it is there's a concern, rightly so, and rather than risk it, they would rather yank the blue box out and go to Y harnesses. And I think that is a little premature, because if the plane is working on the bench and there's no glitches or fluttering or hesitant servos or anything like that, then there's probably no problem with the blue box. Now, I think a lot of the problems possibly too are maybe issues with servos that manifest themselves in weird ways that make people think as they try to troubleshoot it that the blue box is the culprit, and rather than find the actual source of the problem, it's easier just to yank the blue box. Then they hook up harnesses and they find they still have a problem, and oftentimes I think they end up finding that there is a servo bad. They replace it, the problems go away, but they don't put the blue box back in it, or they don't exonerate the blue box.
Yeah.
Fly harness, because of the issues they had. Because when a servo starts to go bad, it can cause some weird things to happen. I've seen it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
pre-flight,
I've had a lot of experience with blue boxes. Man, I can't remember having trouble with one ever, honestly. And I've run gyros off of them. I mean, I use them. They come with it. I use them. I did bypass one time, Steve, my F4, because I was trying to find a problem, and I thought that might be it, just like you said.
Yeah. And
it wasn't. It wasn't it. I did all that. I did the Y harnesses, just like you say, and still had the same issue. I mean, I went through everything. I thought it was the servo. I thought it was the receiver. I thought it was the blue box. I went through the whole. I thought it was the radio, because I had a crazy switch in the radio. I mean, that was. I thought I had a short. I ended up having another bad component, but they work fine for me. I mean, look, every now and then maybe one doesn't work, but I think it's not going to be intermittently. Right. I think it's just either they work or they don't.
If you think about it, the blue box is designed to take the place of the Y harnesses. There are some functionality relative to maybe like a delay for gear doors or a delay for landing gear, perhaps built into some logic in the board. But what a lot of people seem to be doing is they're taking their flight control surfaces off of the blue board and leaving landing gear and lights, because there is that delay in the way they function with the doors and everything else. So anyway, I'm not saying there isn't a problem, but at the same time, I kind of don't lean toward the blue box being the main culprit of anything that crashes or everything that crashes. That's what I'm saying. And we just need to be diligent about doing the troubleshoot. Right. If we see troubleshoot.
I agree with Steve, and I think that, to me, when we see, okay, so those are the same boxes being used in a bunch of different aircraft, but the crashes that we're seeing exhibit kind of a symptomatic similarity. People are, I think, what's the diagnosis? Like they're having opposite aileron reactions or something? I think they're snapping it. I think they're stalling them and snapping them a little bit so they get opposite activity with the plane than maybe the input they're giving, and they're thinking it's a board thing.
Right.
But it's I think what it is guys getting in trouble with the full flying stab and too much throw, and I think a tail heavy condition. I think that I think 88's right there. I mean, do you feel like yours is really, really responsive, Steve, at 88? Because you say your book CG.
Yeah, no, I don't feel that it's overly responsive. I mean, I have my elevator travel at about 32 millimeters. I think max is 36 according to the book.
Right.
So I'm not full.
I think you benefit too from the 6,000, even though. See, that's the one thing we don't ever talk about, right? CG is CG, but you also have more mass when you have the bigger battery in there. Yeah. So it's easier to maintain speed, and you're a little bit less likely to get in trouble. You need more throw to do things when the plane is heavier. So a guy who's flying lighter packs, if he had throws just like yours, he's more likely to get in trouble, perhaps,
possibly,
than you.
Yeah.
Just because the wing loading and the penetration and the inertia quotient. Anyway, I think guys are snapping these things. You wait till you see my landings on these 3 videos I shot. I had 2 that I got lucky and saved. I mean, it was crazy.
This isn't going to be the easiest plane out there for guys to fly, and I could see guys getting into this airplane before they're ready for it. Let me put it that way.
Yep.
I think that, but you know, the other half of the coin here is I know that Motion RC is also not gonna, you know, if somebody says my blue box is bad, they're gonna send them a new one. If you got one that the servo's bad in, they'll just send you a new one. The good news is you're working with the best company I've ever worked with as far as customer service when you buy this airplane. Buy it with confidence, knowing they're going to stand behind you when you do get it.
Yeah, and there's safeguards in place to make sure they're not getting taken advantage of as well. So we have a responsibility to, you know, if we all as a community know there's a warranty time limit, then we should open the dang box and inspect stuff. You know, and try out things.
Check everything. Make sure it runs.
You know, all that stuff. If you have 30 days and you're not going to open it up in that time frame, let them store it. Don't buy it till you're ready. I don't know. There's just, these things are known now. You know, there's a protocol in place, avenues to follow. Everyone has a cell phone and a way to record things. So, you know, document your problems. I tell you, I was close to the source for a long time, and we would have people call in about these blue boxes, and they would say they didn't work. Well, there's usually a common ground somewhere. So if, let's say the common ground is the aileron or the gear or anything, and you didn't plug that in as well, then there's no power to the box, right? Especially some of the earlier boxes, you remember, had only one wire. It almost was like an S-bus. There would only be one wire to some of these control surfaces sometimes. So that definitely points to the common ground thing. So if the common ground is the gear and you don't have them plugged in, that blue box isn't getting power to supply the rest of the control surfaces, so you could have this false positive like your box is bad, but in actuality it's not.
Right.
Clear as mud on that one, right?
Right. Yeah.
Just plug it all in and see before you call people, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Well, any other questions, Miss Lori? Y'all guys see anything? We're fast approaching 2 hours here. I'm going to say probably we got about 10 minutes left here, guys. What does everybody think of this new format? we're definitely going to get Ryan set up to where he can do his interviews now. We've been working all week on this. I loved having Steve. I loved having Ryan here. It's so cool to be able to have another person to talk to for a change. I don't know if you are agreeing, Ryan, but how cool is it that we've been able to actually bounce back and forth with real people tonight?
No, it's 100% the original intention. I mean, I've told you this, Wesley. I never started this thing so I could sit down and just talk in front of the camera by myself to a comment section, which I love it, and I can carry. We work it out, but it's great to, like you say, talk to folks. And that's why I had so much fun at the events. And when I don't have an agenda, I'm definitely going to always have a Johnny on the spot and stuff. I love it. And we tried all week long to get it to where I could get a guest, and we just couldn't figure it out. I'm going to have to
We'll get it.
Same software as you.
We'll definitely get you going, though. That's not a problem. Guys, expect to see the same stuff going on Ryan's show. And Steve, thank you so much for being our first guest. I mean, Ryan, don't get me wrong, you're our first guest also, but everybody knew you were going to be on our show. And I just was so tickled to death that Steve decided to come on with us tonight. I'm glad you did, man. I think it was awesome. I think guys really appreciate your opinion on stuff. You're very knowledgeable on these airplanes. It's awesome. I love getting all this experience under one little group here for guys.
I don't consider myself anything special. I'm a guy that enjoys the hobby just like everybody else. And I'm constantly learning myself, having gotten back into this in just the last few years. So to me, there's a lot of potential. I know that the hobby is something that is kind of struggling in some respects compared to the past. We're dealing with new regulations that we're having to submit to. We're also dealing with, even our own club here in Asheville is losing its site to a solar farm project by the local power utility. So there's all kinds of pressure on the hobby, but we need to make sure that we stay focused, pass it on to the younger generation, or there won't be any point in this going forward. So,
I agree completely, man. And I'm not an expert on the hobby either. I've never tried to come across that way, but I've been doing it long enough now that I feel like I can give a valid opinion and some pretty good knowledge to people on some different aspects of it. You know, most guys that have seen me and Ryan and you fly know that we fly pretty decently. We know what we're talking about. You know, I'm not Jason or Jace Ducey over here. I don't go out and rolling Harrier across the lake and dip the tail in the water or anything. But I mean, I'm a pretty decent pilot now, and so's Ryan, and so are you. So I think a lot of guys that are learning in the hobby really enjoy our thoughts and our experience, and it's cool that they get to bounce off of us too. Like we're going through these brand new airplanes right now, and we're kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't. And guys love the fact that we can kind of share what worked for us before they get ready to do this, because a lot of guys, you know, I've got a club that I go to, you've got a club, Ryan's got a club, but a lot of guys don't have clubs that are very active with lots of members, and they might have the only one in their whole town that they're trying to do all by themselves. And it's cool to have this other source to go and look at and say, hey, look at what these guys are doing. I know what I can do with mine now. And that's the big advantage I see of what we're doing and the value we're providing to the guys. You know, there's a lot of guys that would have never picked up an airbrush that I've got tons and tons and tons of pictures of now after doing what we've done, that they're saying, look at our airplane, look how cool it looks now. I would have never even tried this without you.
You could be a member of a 100-person club, and maybe one or two of you are the only ones flying foamies.
Right.
So where do you go for your information? I mean, this is, I've done it for a minute at this point, and the only reason, you know, it's neat. Like, you don't know this stuff when you start, but you realize over time what people want from you, and you give it to them.
Right.
I'm not anything special either, except that I just pay attention well, to what I get back and what folks ask me. And I pass it on. Wesley, I tell you too, and I talked about it with the guys at Neffy, you too, Steve and James. What I think folks want to know. Like, I called Steve on my way to go maiden this thing. So, you know what I mean? We are all better together. And what we do for a bunch of folks who want it is exactly the same thing I got out of Steve when I called him on the phone.
Right.
Or when I put a feeler out on Facebook and had a couple guys that had the audacity to message me back personally. And I saw what, I asked a question. I wanted to know. Just like folks ask in your comment section of your videos, Wesley, and they ask in the comment sections of mine, and we answer them with the best advice we can give them, best answer. And that is good stuff. And that helps build success as well as community, because it's just a tight-knit bunch, I think, really, for as far wide as it reaches, it's really hometown. You know what I mean? It feels really good when you're out here with a bunch of your buddies giving you good information to try to ensure the best success for the person. And I don't really know anybody, even companies, that want to. Let me put it this way. You can tell when somebody is over their pay grade or skill level by their vocabulary. Somebody may use beginner language or not quite be up in the vocabulary of this hobby in a way and be asking questions about the F-14. You know they're not ready for the F-14.
Right.
And I don't know anybody who would ever recommend somebody who's obviously something to get it.
Right.
Not for a sale.
Right.
It's no good.
Because if they
man.
go out there and pile drive it, then they're going to be out of the hobby. But if they go out,
they'll never come
back. If they go out and have a good time and a successful flight, they're going to come back for more and more, because this hobby's too much fun. Once you get your feet wet,
you can tell by their vocabulary they're not ready, and you ask them some qualifying questions. You find out where they're at. Answer is they have no experience at all. You need to be looking at something else and build up to it, because some folks have no perspective at all. Yeah, it's cool. I agree with you. It's cool that the wings sweep out and the gear come down, but it's not cool to let you think you're going to be able to fly it okay.
Right.
You haven't flown anything. So save your money. You can get a bunch of beginner planes for what it's going to cost you to pile drive that
for
one.
what you'd have in an F-14, you could have, 5 or 6 airplanes.
The best guys in the world. The best guys in the world are in this hobby, and I think they're all rooting for the next guy, unless there's just something wrong with them.
But, well, guys that come into the chat late, I see a couple guys that are new to the live stream. Make sure you go and check out Pilot Ryan and Captain Mike's YouTube channel and RC Jet Dude after the show. Go subscribe. These are both good guys. Anybody that hasn't subscribed to them, do it. Good guys here. Good content on their channels. We have a lot of guys every week that are in here. I know Jeff's Custom RC, Dave's RC. Gosh, the list goes on and on every week. You got to get in here. You got to support your buddies. The comments have been flying by tonight. There's all kinds of good channels that are in here every week. Ryan, we're right at 2 hours. I'm going to go on and say this has been a wonderful evening. What do you think, guys? Y'all good? Have we answered everybody's questions tonight, guys?
Seems like so.
For the first time we've ever done one of these, I think this was a great show. Lori got the echo issue figured out, it sounds like, in the beginning. Now we know for the future what it was. And
the only thing I want to make sure now is that Dave's RC knows where to ship that F-15. That's
right. Did you end up buying his F-15?
No, but I want it so bad. I keep seeing it in the back of his stream. You guys got to hang out with us on Friday nights too, man. Dave's RC is a good time. You never know what's going to happen, and we keep throwing around the word community. Some of you guys who haven't been in some of these other streams, really, it's a lot of us same buddies, and we're not like some folks because we think they need it. We're supporting them because we have fun over there. Like it's a good time. And the only thing I want to see with Dave's RC is that he reads it better. Because when I'm not in front of the camera and I get to just watch his show, I
You're the comment king. He takes over Dave.
Dude, I blow up the chat and he never sees it, and I swear they're funny. But anyway, that's all.
Right.
That's the only thing he can do to improve it.
Right.
And send me that F-15.
Yeah, I agree. And I have the F-15 also. I need to fly mine. I've got the 90. I need to fly it. It's sitting right over there. Should I bring it on the camera for you?
Check out Dave.
No, yeah, check out Dave.
Too.
So right now you've got
you've
got Friday at Dave's, Saturday at Ryan's, and Sunday at the Boozers. We've got a great little thing going. The only time those kind of change, the only time they could change a little bit is when one of us is at an event. You know, I don't know. I kind of want to work around that with people. I still would go live on Sunday, but I might work at moving my time if I knew somebody else was going to be at an event that's once a year, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, Dave was actually really, I didn't even think about it because I was on site at 2 events, 2 weekends in a row, and I was nervous about, I'm almost a year in on this show. My show last night was episode 47, 52 weeks in the year. I'm super close. And so we did a test run on Fridays. For both those weekends, and Dave, I didn't even think about it, but he cut his short and sent people over. We weren't sure if it was going to be rained out the next day or whatever, and so we just kind of, you know how it is. If I do a test, it ends up being a show, and we just did them. I ended up doing shows Friday and Saturday night from those events, and I wasn't trying to step on anybody, but Dave was really cool about it. So thanks.
Well,
and check him out, dudes. We have fun over there. Dave, you do yours at 9 o'clock also, right? On Friday.
Let's see. I haven't seen him comment
Speak up.
yet.
I can't hear you.
What? Well, anyway, either way it is, guys, check out all of our channels where we're a nice tight group community. I think we do something fun tonight. We let Steve's kid sit in there count us down tonight for the exit. What do you think? You want to do that? Yeah, you go like, give us the thing. We'll do it all together. Ryan, I've had a wonderful time. Steve, thank you again. I love it. We're going to definitely do this again, guys, in the near future. I would be glad to come on Ryan sometime and do the same thing. We're going to get it figured out, have it on both of us. So,
yep.
All right, guys. Well, count us down.
You want you
come on.
Do you want me to do it for us?
I was gonna have him do it. Come on, we'll all do it together. Come on, you ready?
It's just a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Nice and slow.
You got this, dude.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Bye, guys.
Later.